I'm doing well, I hope. Now then, since no guitar companies out there see fit to sponsor and or send me any gear to review, today I'm taking things into my own hands and I'm going to review one of my own damn guitars. A guitar that is very high on my list of personal favorites, especially when it comes to classic rock tones of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This guitar right here, the PRS SE 245 Standard. Now, I have about 13 or 14 guitars, but what I don't have is a Gibson Les Paul. Reason being is that they're quite frankly too damn expensive for my budget constraints, as I personally prefer not to spend $3,000 or more on any one guitar. But know that, I've certainly wanted a Gibson Les Paul over the past couple of years, rather badly. So about 2 years ago, I went hunting for a Les Paul style guitar that was more comfortably priced in my budget range of 800 to 1,000 Canadian dollars. I thought about an Epiphone Les Paul, the most obvious choice, of course, and as I'm most definitely not a guitar snob, this option was certainly on the table. But I figured that I would see what else was out there on the market in this price range before finalizing my decision on the Epiphone. Now, I found lots of alternative options, of course. Ibanez, Gretsch, ESP Ltd, Schecter, Kramer, even the Yamaha Revstar, which came very close to winning out here, in my search for a cheaper Les Paul style alternative. And then I found this guy, the PRS SE 245. Obvious, just by looking at it, that it was a guitar designed and released by PRS with the mid-price Les Paul market in mind. However, the nice thing about it is that it doesn't scream Les Paul copy, though it is, a single cutaway, double humbucker guitar, three-way toggle switch right up here, 2 volumes, 2 tone controls like the Les Paul. It still has its own somewhat distinct style and isn't just a flat-out recreation of the Les Paul design like many of the others are. Now, as I didn't have a PRS guitar at the time and had heard nothing but good things about their guitars, I decided that this would be the guitar that I would go with to fill that missing slot in my collection where ideally, if I had the money, the Gibson Les Paul would comfortably sit. Let's just say that I have not been disappointed in the least. My quest and desire to own a full-on Gibson Les Paul has been rather sated since I purchased this guitar. That said, this guitar, like the Epiphone Les Paul, is a more budget-friendly version of its American-made and much more expensive big brother. In this particular case, the PRS 245 SE, which will run you $3,000 to $4,000 like the Gibsons. However, the corners that PRS cut to put that 245 SE design into a $1,000 SE package, well, they're fairly minimal. The big one, of course, being that the SE is made overseas in Korea. However, here's the big and notable difference in this regard between PRS and all the other guitar manufacturers, like Gibson, for instance. That difference being that PRS have very high standards of quality control across the board, no matter where their guitars are built and assembled. It's a hallmark of the brand's approach to building quality gear, regardless of price or where they are manufactured. Each PRS guitar, regardless of where it was initially built, is set up, inspected, and quality controlled at their main US factory before being shipped to stores. So that's something that's really unique with regards to guitar manufacturers and quality control. Regardless, let's have a look at this guitar. Like I said, what we have here is the PRS SE 245 Standard. This one in particular being a bit of an older model from a few years back, as I think they've redesigned the headstock on all of the newer models. However, everything else about the newer models is pretty much exactly the same as this one. Single cutaway guitar with a one-piece solid mahogany body that weighs about 8 pounds, a nice comfortable weight. Nice aesthetically pleasing, cream-colored binding all around the body, and this absolutely gorgeous flame maple top, indicative of the standard designation that this guitar has. I think that they call this particular burst their tobacco burst, and it also comes in a charcoal burst as well. To tell the honest to God truth, I've always been more of a fan of solid color guitars and not bursts, and I didn't actually love the look of this guitar when I first laid eyes upon it, but it has grown on me considerably over the past couple of years, and I quite like it now. Correction, I love this guitar now. So then, rosewood fretboard, which I prefer highly over all other types of wood under my fingers, with of course the flying bird inlays, a rather well-known signature of PRS guitars. Something else that honestly didn't do much for me at first, but I have gotten used to them. You know, they're unique and they're pretty. However, personally, I do prefer simple dots, but not a deal breaker though, obviously. Now, the scale length of this guitar is what makes this guitar somewhat unique, and what gives it the name 245. The scale length on this guitar is rather short at 24.5 inches, a lot shorter than a Stratocaster or Super Strat style guitar, and a hair shorter than most Les Pauls, which usually clock in at around 24.75 inches. So what does that mean? Well, it means a touch less tension on the strings up and down the neck, which is fantastic when it comes to ease of bending notes. However, it's not so fantastic for, tear your face off shredding up and down the fretboard, like say a Super Strat style guitar. That said, this guitar is not really designed for that. And coupled with its shorter scale length, it also has this big fat chunky neck on it, this C-profile chunky neck. Also not ideal for shredding, or for those with smaller hands, one has to say. However, if you like chunkier necks on your guitar, like those older Les Pauls say, then you'll like this neck, as it plays like a dream. One of the real highlights of this guitar in general. That said, the real name of the game here with this neck is comfort. This neck is comfortable as hell to play, especially for those guitarists, with like big bear paw hands, the sort that I have. Great for just, gripping that neck and knocking out some blues or some great blues-based classic rock. Moving on, it has PRS design tuners which work really well and keep the strings well locked in and in tune. PRS's own proprietary nut, plastic on this, I think, which puzzles me to no end as why any guitar manufacturer would still be using plastic nuts on their $1,000 guitars when there are more modern and still inexpensive options out there, such as, graphite and Graphtec and whatnot. That aside, a little graphite dust in each of the nut slots, as I do with all of my guitars, keeps it well lubricated and keeps the strings from snagging on little imperfections in the nut plastic. Carrying on, these zebra striped pickups, they're PRS's own proprietary 245 S Alnico humbuckers, designed specifically for this guitar, and are designed to pump out a rather vintage 60s and 70s style guitar tone, not unlike that of a classic Les Paul, say. And in that regard, they absolutely shine. I absolutely love the mid-output vintage tones that I can pull out of these pickups. Very comparable to the classic Gibson PAF pickups that many older Les Pauls have. I found an article online wherein some fellow who seems to know a thing or two about pickups and a bit more than I do, compared these exact pickups to the aftermarket DiMarzio PAF Master humbuckers, which were designed to specifically recreate that classic Les Paul tone, and found their frequency responses across the board to be virtually identical. Suffice to say, perfectly happy with these stock pickups. I have no desire whatsoever to replace them. PRS designed stop-tail bridge, simple and straightforward, no issues with that in any way whatsoever. Three-way pickup selector switch up here where they usually are on a Les Paul style guitar. 2 volumes, 2 tone controls, typical of a Les Paul style guitar. However, the configuration of the knobs on this guitar is a bit more logical than a Les Paul. These 2 back here for the bridge, and these 2 up here for the neck pickup. Makes a bit more sense, to have them lined up with the actual pickup that you're using. Smart. And I think that about covers it all on this PRS 245 SE standard. These guitars retail for about $800 US new, if I'm not mistaken, and worth every single penny. Really outstanding guitar that I love and recommend highly. if you're in the market, like I was, for a Les Paul style guitar without the rather inflated Gibson price tag. This guitar offers you some of the best bang for the buck that you're going to find anywhere. Well, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the video and the review. If you did, please hit that like button. Drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be awfully kind. Hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, wherever that may find you, and we will see you next time. Cheers.